Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is Austin Michael Baldridge, AMB, PWX current United States champion here, and I am currently drinking with Moe's. I don't know about you guys, but I am looking forward to having a conversation with Big Mo, and I hope you guys listen to it. Move going on and everything, so this whole move has just been kind of crazy the last few days, so
Oh, I can only imagine. Well, it is drinking at Moe's. Big Mo here. Be sure YouTube, all that good shit, like, subscribe, blah blah blah. Helps out with the pain in the ass algorithm they got there. We're pretty much most places you can find your podcast. My dog was trying to get my attention. Crazy dog. But today I have with me, I'm excited, Austin Michael Baldridge. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing the name right. And don't get mad at me, Britt Baker. AMB. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to finally be drinking with Moe's, man. It's a good opportunity just to get my name out there and just to tell my story and share my experiences in the world of professional wrestling so far. So I'm grateful that you're having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no. I've been excited. We've been talking for a little bit, and I was trying to remember who ended up like sending you my way, but hey, I'm always looking to talking to new people at all ends of the professional wrestling spectrum.
Yeah. I can't remember who sent me your way either. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say Johnny Cass.
That might have been, yeah.
Johnny Cass might be the guy that sent me your way, if I'm not mistaken. So
that very well
shout out to Johnny Cass.
Yes, good dude right there. Ran
Absolutely.
into him with a group of people that one of which I've actually had on as well at Sammy Callahan's promotion, Wrestling Revolver.
Yeah.
Then we all got introduced there. But first thing I like to kind of lead off with is what got you started as a fan, and then what made you decide to make the leap into the business?
That's actually a very good question. So as a fan, my first memory in life is after WrestleMania 17, turning on the TV with my oldest brother and we're watching Monday Night Raw, seeing the Hardys and the Dudleys and stuff. I want to say what got me into it as a fan, as a child, was the Triple H Shawn Michaels rivalry that they had in 2002.
Oh yeah.
Seeing that was intriguing. And then also at around the same time, I was a big RVD fan as a child, Jeff Hardy and RVD. So when Kane turned on RVD and unmasked himself, I vividly to this day remember how I felt when I seen that. So and then as far as getting into professional wrestling entirely, everybody kind of goes through their phases. Growing up, they kind of fall out. I had one of those phases. I kind of quit watching for, I want to say, about 3 years. And then my brother just told me about the WWE network and was saying that AJ Styles was coming to WWE and the title was on the line in the Royal Rumble. And I'm like, no way. And that just kind of got me on the hook again. And I just started watching other stuff. And like, I grew up watching WWF, WWE, just because of my grandparents and my oldest brother. But I seen New Japan Pro Wrestling for the first time. My senior year of high school. It was the best of the Super Juniors. Ricochet, Will Ospreay, Taiji Ishimori, guys like that just opened my mind to a whole new world of wrestling that I had never seen. And then, of course, I started going down the pipeline. I started learning about the independents and like Game Changer Wrestling, Ring of Honor, guys like Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole,
Yeah.
those were the guys that really brought me into, like, I want to say, this new hybrid style of wrestling in this modern day. Just the way Adam Cole cut promos, the whole story time with Adam Cole,
Yeah.
um, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly with Red Dragon and their storylines that they had going on. I kind of came into Ring of Honor after the whole El Generico, Kevin Steen storyline and stuff like that. So I missed out a little bit, and I just realized wrestling was in a good place. As much as everybody shit on it and wasn't really like, wrestling this, wrestling that, I knew no matter what, whether it be a Monday, Friday, or whatever, I turn on my TV, I'm gonna see something cool. And it just brought me back to like the nostalgic feeling of how excited I was getting, as a child, coming home from school, playing with the wrestling guys, waiting for Raw to come on. And I started to get that feeling again. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should try. That's the thing, is like most people want to do this, but they don't know who to contact.
Yeah.
That was one of my issues. So my senior year, I was kind of like, I want to do it. And then ran into a couple of buddies that were just kind of doing backyard stuff. And then they introduced me to Black and Brave, sent me the link to that. And I tried for a few years to get into there. And local promotions just started popping up, man. It was just crazy. Is like, as I started getting back into it, the momentum of the independent scene was coming up again. So it was just like 20 minutes down my road, I got to go see Dreamwave. And they had guys like MJF, the Lucha Brothers at the time, Shane Strickland, Isaiah Swerve Scott, however you want to call him. It was just crazy. I was paying $15, $20 to go see these guys. And then 6 months later, they're on television.
Yeah.
So that, it was intriguing to me to just actually realize that I was like trying to get into a business at a very important time. And it's very overwhelming when you're new. But as I started to get the ball rolling, I kind of started to realize, like, the opportunities are possible. It's not as far-fetched as everybody seems. And I just stuck with it, man. Just started reaching out to people and just constantly sending emails to schools all across the country.
Oh, yeah. And you mentioned, one Black and Brave Academy. I've actually had the Brave in Black and Brave Academy, Merrick Brave, on.
Nice.
It was one of the earlier episodes, but it was still a good one. I was happy to have him on. And then when you brought up New Japan, I remember the first time I saw New Japan, and
crazy.
I wanted to say it was actually one of the Wrestle Kingdoms, and I think I'm trying to remember who was going up against who. I know one of the guys was Tomohiro Ishii.
Yeah,
and I just remember, like, you see guys here in the States throwing headbutts, and you're like, okay, you can kind of tell sometimes that it's like, it's not like the impact of it doesn't look. But with him in that match, and I think that this might be one of the reasons why he's an absolute favorite of mine right now. Tomohiro Ishii, it was like he was not holding back, and you can literally hear the bone on bone just smacking. Like, I almost felt like I got a headache just watching.
Yeah, it was like, again, I had never seen wrestling like that before. I kind of like got on demand back in the day, like MediaCom and stuff like that, and seen some Ring of Honor stuff. Like, I was a big Shelton Benjamin fan too. So him and Charlie Haas did like a stint in Ring of Honor for a little bit, like way back in the day. I seen some of that, but
titles there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, there's more to wrestling than just WWE. And I was in that phase still where I was kind of like experimenting with sports and you just growing up. So I was just like, maybe I'll get back to it. But it was just cool to see that, like, you could turn the channel, and just there's something else out there. And it was just, that was awesome. It took me a long time to get back to it, but yeah, like New Japan, Ring of Honor, MLW. I love MLW. Some of the stuff they do, yeah, okay, but overall, it's like a good alternative to what the independence is giving right now, and I like that. So I'm a big fan of MLW at the moment,
Oh,
but
they
it's
got
cool to
some
know.
they got some pretty cool stuff like their big battle riot in the
Yep,
war
yep, I love that too.
chamber and stuff like that. Very, very awesome stuff. I got to give it to them there.
Yeah, some great talents over there too, you know.
Oh yeah.
Lately I've been a big fan of Nick Wayne and his partner Jordan Oliver. The
Okay,
things
there.
they're doing right
Oh
now,
yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah, so it's just cool to know that like you hear them stories about like my older brothers, they grew up during the whole Monday Night Wars. So just to
Yeah.
see like, hey, we have something new kind of like that going on. It also actually like brought my brother back into wrestling for a little bit too. And so it's just cool just to see how wrestling can bring people together like that.
Oh, totally. And there's so much variety out there that, you know I've mentioned with a few different people before that it's like if you can't find something in wrestling that you like right now with the variety that's out there, you probably weren't even a fan to begin with.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I've always been curious when people, well, especially when they get started training for wrestling, but it kind of lingers on because it's a never ending process. What has some of your training stories been like? Because, especially in the beginning, it can be, I can imagine, kind of like, well, me having served in the Navy,
Yeah.
going to basic training and that first wake up and the first time the drill instructors are in there and you're just like, oh fuck.
Yeah, so I've kind of had my share in you're constantly learning when you're in professional wrestling or in anything, you're always evolving. Um, so I've kind of bounced around from a couple places due to like having to move and change location and stuff. But the first time I was in wrestling school, very intimidating. Uh, you got all these, these big guys like, and as much as they're very welcoming, they don't understand to someone who's new, um, and who hasn't, you know, been involved in sports or anything, and someone who's just kind of like, kind of off the couch type thing, it's very intimidating. And
Yeah.
even to guys like myself who have played sports and done, it's very tough. And I think that's like the first wake up call is, you get in there and you kind of just like look around and you're like, oh, okay, okay. But then once things start going, the noises start picking up. You hear that ring and you realize that's metal and wood and steel cables. Yeah, I've been watching wrestling my whole life. The first time I got into a ring, um, my trainer at the time had said, hit the ropes, show me what you can do. I was like, okay, cool, got it. Watched wrestling my whole life. I'll flat back it, you know what I mean? I got this. Not understanding that that's not rope. And I about broke my back hitting those ropes. Yeah. I came home because I was living with my mom in high school at the time, fresh out of high school. I didn't tell her I was gonna do that at first. I just kind of like went out to work and was saving up the money and just took off one day. But that day I came home, I had a nice welt from my shoulder blade down to my tailbone on my
Oh,
right side because it was just constant, They in wrestling school they try not to advance you until you get the thing they're showing you down correctly first. And
yeah.
that was like it's discipline and like some people can get underwhelmed once they're like, oh, we're doing this again. But there's always a reason. And I had to learn real quick. I didn't hit those ropes right. And there was a reason I was running ropes for the next 3 hours. So the next day when I went in, they were very pleased that, I got smartened up real quick and was doing it properly the next day. Some of the places I went to, very, very open-minded. They try not to, this is the way the business should be, stuff like that. They're very open-minded. I feel more welcoming into the place that I'm at right now currently, just because everybody there is starting kind of from the beginning, or they're starting from scratch. And it's pretty cool to just be involved in the process to where you can, we're all learning together. So it's not like, oh, well, this person's done this and this person's done that, so we have to cater to this guy and stuff like that. We're literally a helping hand to one another. And I like environments like that, but it can still be very intimidating. Uh, just because some days you have different experience levels, and
Yes.
like no one knows like what you're gonna get into. You just show up and adapt right on the fly, learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best thing that wrestling has taught myself. I want to say in just the time of me doing this, it's taught me a lot of like discipline, mental health, even just general health, learning about your body and stuff like that. But overall, I would say it's been a friendly experience so far in wrestling. I haven't had no one really kind of like belittle me in the sense, or kind of like let the ego get
Yeah.
involved. Uh Everyone's very, very open and friendly in the wrestling business and in the communities, and I love that because, personally growing up, uh I wasn't the most popular, but I was very like I was very welcomed in friend groups. So I can relate to a lot of people, and I can honestly say I haven't related to any individuals in life other than wrestling fans and wrestlers in general. Like I just love this stuff. So
Oh,
overall, I've had a great experience. I haven't had no horror stories.
yeah.
I have been pushed to my limit though. One of
Yeah.
my trainers was very old school, and he we did cardio, nonstop cardio, like 5 hours of just cardio. And yeah, he showed me what intestinal fortitude means.
Oh, I
So
can.
it's
I
it's
can
cool to
imagine.
have a fair share of both, but it's kind of cool to have multiple trainers who's done a lot of stuff to where this guy knows kind of like the 80s style. Whereas this guy, he knows how to be the lower card guy and elevate talents. So it's cool to like have your pool of a fair share of talents and experience, and just other guys. We mentioned Black and Brave. We got a lot of them guys coming to our shows. And I can honestly say I haven't learned as much as I have just from those guys coming in.
Yeah.
Just the little things, the psychology, the mannerisms, how to carry yourself, how to walk, how to talk. Um, so I'm very grateful, just very grateful with this whole experience right now.
Oh, that's awesome. You've had some success out there. I know some of the stuff that you sent me to kind of prepare for the episode. There's with PWX out there. I
Mhm.
mean, I'll admit, before I think you and Johnny Cass, I wasn't as familiar with them.
Yeah.
But I mean, you had the run out there being the PWX champion. What was that like for you?
So it was very surreal just because I had my first debut match New Year's Eve. So I'm want to say 5 months in, roughly. Um, but to be able to get an opportunity like that shows that the company and your trainers and your promoters care, and that they trust you. And that's like the number one thing. Um,
Yeah.
and business wise, it shows that you have potential and that you can sell some tickets. And with the storyline that was given to me, I couldn't have had a better partner to tell that story with. Nasty Nick Nolan. The
Mm.
guy is legit, Black and Brave talent. He's very good. He knows how to elevate someone and push someone to get through the match and make them look better in the sense. Um, he's very intense too. So going through that whole storyline and stuff and having those matches was a very quick learning experience for me. Just because, like I said, I'm still roughly new, I'm very green, 5 months in. So to get an opportunity like that, also against the caliber of a talent like that, with the high stakes that were on the line like that, it really put the pressure on. I wanted to throw up maybe 5 times before I went out there that night. But by the end of it, very surreal, like you kind of dream of like, oh, I wonder what that feels like, or how I would react in that moment. But when
Yeah.
it really comes to you, nothing can prepare you for that. It was very awesome. The fans have gotten behind me very fast, very fast, and I can't thank them enough. Just every week we do a show on Thursday, and it's hard right now in the world just to kind of like go out and enjoy yourself. So it's very pleasing and it's awesome just to know that these guys will spend their money, guys, girls, children, whatever. They're willing to spend their money every week on a Thursday, after work. And they still got to get the kids up and get ready for school the next day and stuff like that. But they know every Thursday they look forward to them hour or 2 hours, whatever we give them, that they can unwind. And it's been a great experience so far to win that championship and just hold it up. I'm a local kid, and our promotions in Streator, Illinois, and I'm from Ottawa, Illinois. So it's only 20 minutes away. Although I'm not one of them, I am in the sense. And a lot of us in this county, we all have each other's back. It's very small. Everybody knows everyone. We kind of know each other's situations and stuff like that. So we look out for each other. So it wasn't like, oh, A and B is getting his moment. It was really a moment for the whole community and for the company in general, because we hadn't had someone of our own kind of come and get a moment like that. So it was just awesome. I still haven't watched. I watched it back maybe twice, but since that night I can't watch it back just because like I was so nervous, and there's little things that me personally as a professional, I'm like,
Yeah.
But it was very awesome. The fans loved it. The company liked the match. And it's kind of opened the door a little bit for me, I want to say, just to be able to showcase myself with a guy like Nasty Nick Nolan and do what we did that night. It's kind of opened the door for me as far as being able to reach out to other companies and to send them something like, here you go. I'm proud of this,
Oh yeah.
So it was pretty cool. Very surreal though, like especially with my family. They've seen me since I was in diapers and underwear, jumping off of stuff and, doing this stuff. So it's full circle kind of moment, if I had to say.
I can imagine. I know you brought up not really having been able to watch back that particular match. When editing and putting together the show, that is about the only time I've ever watched back any of my episodes. For some reason, I'm my own, like, I can imagine same boat. I'm my own worst critic there. I'm like, in the moment, I'm like, hey, all right, but then, watching back, if I were to watch the whole episode back, I'd be like, oh man, I could have done better there.
Yeah.
Too long of a pause there. I'm like, I'm picking myself apart.
Yeah. It happens to the best of us, man. Us as creators and just people that, are striving and just trying to produce something, we're all our own worst critics. And that's something I was kind of taught too, like I'm a perfectionist. I don't like half-assing something. And especially like with this wrestling stuff, you want everything to be crisp. And there's some guys that have told me, you don't want to do that because you'll burn yourself out mentally. You'll cause yourself gray hairs. You know what I mean? So never strive for perfectionist stuff like that in wrestling. So that's something I've been kind of working on. I do beat myself up a little bit when I'm like, I kind of slipped there, or, just little creative mental stuff.
Oh yeah, and I can imagine in those situations it's tough, but I'd like to think of it as, you know, if it's just one of those small things, if you don't let it out, then maybe the people that are watching, maybe they'd something slipped their mind they didn't even notice. And unless you let them know, they're not going to notice it.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. And that's, yeah, again, just like you said, they're not going to know unless you make it known. And that's just like one of the things, as much as I want to have my perfect match, so to speak, you're never going to get it, and if you
Yeah.
do get it, it's very
Hey.
rare. It's magic, you know what I mean? So just embrace it while it comes type thing. So, I
Oh,
that's the mentality I've kind of had lately is just embrace everything.
oh yeah. No, and you never know how long a career is going to be because you know accidents happen, stuff
Yeah.
happens, and you might have these dreams of this long career, but then freak accident happens and you get some injury and the doctors are telling you you shouldn't do it anymore. So like you said, embrace it while you have the opportunity to be out there in front of the crowd,
Yeah.
getting those cheers, those boos, whatever it might be.
Yeah, because as quick as you've earned it, the faster it can go away. You know what I mean?
Oh
It
yeah,
it
totally.
just takes a simple inch in professional wrestling for someone to be paralyzed or gone. And we've lost way too many people in this industry already
Oh
due
yeah.
to things that could have been avoided. So that's, we try to take care of each other, take care of our bodies, take care of our mental health. And that's one of the things that long term, that's my goal. Um, like I'm a big fan of the Ricochets, the Will Ospreys and stuff. And as much as I love that style of wrestling and I can do some of that stuff, I'm aware that there's high risk involved. All it takes is one slip, 1 inch, and you're done.
Oh yeah.
And I think some of those guys too in the business are kind of smartening up a little bit to that. You know what I mean? Will Ospreay himself has had a lot of injuries, and it seems lately he's kind of smartening up since he's went into that heavyweight um, bracket, and he's kind of changed and minimalized a lot of stuff that he does, and he only brings it out when it's really necessary. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and that, like, because I got blindsided by that, especially coming back into wrestling. Less is more. So like, there's a reason them guys in the '80s made what they made, have the impact they have.
Yeah.
Um, and I just got blindsided by the whole modern wrestling type thing, and that's just
Oh
my
yeah.
goal long term. I would like to be able to tell a story rather than to go out there and get the oohs and ahs. So like, again, to put Nasty Nick Nolan over, like he's one of those guys who knows what to do mentally on the fly, and he's very witty when it comes to his character, and he knows how to really get people to feel something. And I think that's why people talk about the night me and him had the match for the United States Championship, because as much as they knew I was feeling that, they all felt it as well. And I really don't think we could have got that feeling in the arena that night without someone of that caliber like Nasty Nick Nolan to be on the other side of the storytelling with me. So I think that's like one of the best things that coming into wrestling you want to do is just pick everybody's brain and just take
Mm.
whatever you think makes sense. And even if it doesn't make sense, it's not supposed to sometimes, but eventually when you're in the experience, it's going to click. So you always take things and mental note them, always have a notebook. So like that's like one of my things is long term to be able to tell the story.
Mm. Oh yeah. And when we were talking about some of the things when it comes to injuries and slips and stuff happen, especially with the guys that have the high flying style. One of the matches that you brought up to me, and I'm trying to pronounce his name right, and my handwriting is atrocious at times, but it was John Bon Bonhart
Bonhart.
Bonhart,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And there was a match that there was a move that he pulled off there that it was like this flippy move that it was like it was starting off one way and ended into like a senton sort of thing.
Oh yeah, that move's pretty cool. Yeah,
And
it's
I
pretty
saw
killer.
that, I'm like, holy crap, you don't see stuff like that too often.
Yeah, John Bonhart, man, what a great guy. Personally, great guy to talk to, great guy to have in your locker room. Just a good guy in general. Yeah, that match was very fun for me. Just because like we just wanted to have fun. There was a lot of pressure kind of that could have been put on us that night. And I think him and I just wanted to have fun. And we went out there and had our match. And that move, I don't know what he calls that move, but it's different. It's very different. You don't see that every day. Um, and I'm a little smaller on the smaller end in this business. So like he was kind of like, yeah, you'll be fine, you know? Yeah, it hurts. It hurts.
I
Um,
can
yeah,
imagine.
yeah. And he gets some height on that too. Like he doesn't seem like the on camera, you're like, oh, okay, that's athletic, but he's not getting a lot of height, but he's very athletic. And that's like one of those things that's very interesting about that match too, is like coming out as we were coming out, like people were like, oh, it's Bonhart, and they're like, oh, how is this gonna go? These are like two different styles, but they don't understand that John Bonhart is very athletic, so he can keep up with guys in the athletic range like myself. And I think we did a good job at like having a fun little match to showcase both people's athleticism, because he don't normally get to showcase that stuff. Um, but that move is very cool. Like even when he busted it out the first time, I was like, how did you come up with that? I was thinking to myself, like, that's different. I haven't seen that. But yeah, John Bonhart, that match was awesome, dude. I can't take credit for enough for that, because like that's all him. Like to be able to share the ring with guys like that is just, it's still surreal to me. Like I'm just this some skid in LaSalle County, Illinois. Like most of these people, they're just like, oh, that's Austin. But it's like you have to pinch yourself sometimes and
Yeah.
just realize, like, hey, wake up. You know what I mean? This is really happening. And the guys like that, they're very good at like keeping you on your toes, making sure you're mentally prepared. And they just like to have fun because they understand in the end, this can't stick around forever. Our bodies won't hold up forever. So they just want to go out there and make every moment count. And I appreciate guys like Bonhart, Nasty Nick, and everybody on our roster, even in the rosters, Galley Lucha roster, Janesville Wrestling, you know, everybody's so friendly. And I think that's been the biggest shock. Kind of you hear these stories, and it's a macho business, and testosterone is everywhere in these locker rooms. It's like, man, you're just waiting for a fight, but everyone's so, you know.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Nope.
so yeah, I'm just kind of like at that page right now with my wrestling career where I'm, trying to make strides happen, take my bookings as much as they come. I'm reaching out to any and every company that I can think of that I can either drive to or, get to. Um, Johnny Cass is another guy that I met. I would like to have a singles match with Johnny Cass soon. I think that would be fun. Um, but he sent me your way, and it was just like, oh, I'm only 4 months in and stuff like that. And he's like, no, man, it's an opportunity just to showcase yourself. And it's just very cool to know that people aren't selfish, like you always hear most of the time, like, oh, I got this opportunity. Everyone's been so friendly, and it's just been like the biggest shock. John Bonhart, especially. Dude is a wonderful guy. He's a great Illinois Valley champion, current Illinois Valley champion right now at PWX. And that belt is kind of to represent my hometown, my county, and if it's not someone from here, I would rather it be John Bonhart because he's an upstanding talent and person, you know.
No,
That match was that match was very fun. Still to this day, I want to say the Nasty Nick Nolan match was a good one. The Bonhart match was very good. And the most recent one that I had just had with Chris the Wildcard Mercer,
okay.
those three by far, um, I can't explain those experiences, you know. It's just I'm still trying to regroup from that and just think about what happened, you know.
Oh, no, I can imagine. And, you know, when doing this podcast, I mean, I have literally had people from all ends of the spectrum, people just starting out. I've had people that I've literally been their first podcast. I've had people on like the SATs, a guy that we talked about Ring of Honor, Kerry Silken. I've had him on.
Oh, nice.
I've had he's now back in WWE. He was going by Jonah, but now back as Bronson Reed. Had
Yeah.
him on. I've had couple deathmatch wrestling legends in Alex Colon and Madman Pondo. I've had them on. So it's like
Yeah,
I've
some
had
legends.
all ends of the spectrum here. I'm like, hey, if somebody has a story they want to tell, and I'd love to have them on.
I appreciate you bringing me on, man. This is pretty cool. This is actually my first one as well, so very
Awesome.
grateful for that as well.
Awesome. I love it. Well, before we get into my two categories that I have that I kind of round the show off with, for those that end up watching this on YouTube, you can look behind my guest here, and there's a nice little collection of stuff on your wall there.
Yeah.
I kind of fancy myself a little bit of a wrestling collector, whether it be figures, Funko Pops, event posters, autographs, all of the sorts.
Yeah.
What's a couple of favorite items you have back there?
A lot of this stuff I've just been keeping over the years. Some of it I've literally never opened since I was a child. So, I have over here behind my TV, I have a Brian Pillman figure that I
Okay.
love. Um, honestly, this Oregon Ducks flag, I'm a big Oregon Ducks football fan.
Okay.
Uh, that's one of the things like that'll probably be with me till I'm 70, you know. Uh, but this Stone Cold plaque right here, this one right
Okay.
here,
Okay. Yeah.
very cool. That was a gift from my brother who lives in San Antonio. Um, he was at a garage sale, seen some shirts, and it's an official stamped WWF plaque with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and it came with the original comic magazine that was released with it as well. So I have that on here and the comic in the frame. So those are probably my two favorite things. And then just recently, my trainer knows I'm a big Rey Mysterio fan, so
Okay.
he got me
That's
the
pretty.
Mexican mask. So
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, I've been lucky enough. I like to, as much as possible, get event posters from different wrestling shows I've been to. I know the last couple of Wrestling Revolver shows I've gone to, I've gotten the event posters signed by the likes of Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, Vincent, Billy Starks, all. And then
nice. Yeah,
my
that's a good group of talent you just listed right there. Every single
oh,
one of them is killing it right now.
Billy Starks especially. God
Yeah.
damn. The sky is not even a limit for that girl. And another event poster that I love is the one when my show got invited to be a part of the Warrior Wrestling show / fan fest when they did a stop in St. Louis.
Oh,
And
okay.
I got to meet the likes of, again, I've met Mike Bennett a few times. He was
Yeah.
there. There was Lance Archer, uh, and still one of, and I don't know, I just love those Hawks fights. Jonah versus Jeff Cobb.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm a big fan of Jeff Cobb.
Oh,
Dude's awesome.
nice dude. I actually have a figure signed by him. And I swear, him and the now Bronson Reed, I love telling the story. I was sitting close enough that when these dudes were chopping each other, you can literally see the individual beads of sweat just flying off of them. It was awesome.
Those are the best shows to go to, like when the crowd's not too close, but close enough to where it's very intimate. That's what we like strive to do. But with the building that we have and the layout, it can be tricky sometimes. But yeah, those type of shows are the best. The first independent show I went to was one of the Dreamwave shows. They had MJF and all those guys there, and that's exactly what it was like. They did like a four-way scramble match, and Phoenix and some other guy were in there, but Phoenix chopped the hell out of this guy, and I felt just nothing but sweat coming off like all the way from the ring onto my face. I'm like, what the hell? I wiped my face and I looked up and everyone was loving it. And I'm like, this is what wrestling really is. Like, okay, I'm gonna start coming to the shows more. Like,
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah.
that was my very first experience, like at a live show on the Independence, and yeah, by the time I left, like I just smelled like beer, and you know what I mean. It was awesome though. It was the best
Oh, yeah.
experience.
No, and I didn't even get started on independent wrestling until I was stationed in San Diego, and I literally just Googled pro wrestling in San Diego. And then I've had the guys that ran the promotion that got me started on, and hell, here I am now. And yeah, I've seen some crazy stuff. And speaking of, sweat and stuff flying onto you, I remember one of the first matches that I ever saw that was using stuff like light tubes and all that.
Okay.
Well, guy got hit, and well, let's just say his face was the proverbial crimson mask, as they like to say.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they, I'm sitting front row, and he comes back by. Guy hits him. He spins around right in front of me, and there's so much blood on his face that it just flew right off. It was on my shirt, on my phone. It was
Just like taking a paintbrush and yep.
basically,
Yeah.
basically, it
Yeah.
was insane.
Deathmatch shows, it's a lot different than watching them. I will say
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Uh
Oh, totally.
the first like deathmatch clip I had ever seen, or match that I had ever seen. This was like I was in fourth grade. I want to say 2008, 2007. So this was a while ago. Um, I was on MySpace. I don't know why I was on MySpace in fourth grade, but um, the video section in MySpace, they used to up. It was almost like YouTube. It was another search engine,
Oh, yeah.
and I found Sick Nick Mondo and I can't think of the other guy's name right now. Um, Zandig, Zandig.
Mm.
They did. He he jumped off this building or
I
warehouse
remember
or
the
whatever it
clip.
was. Yeah, through like all these tables, and I was just remember being a little kid. I'm like, what the hell was that? And I watched it back a couple times. I'm like, that's a little too gory. I'm a horror fan, so I'm like, that was a little pushing it for me. And then as I got older, I'm like, let's dive into this wrestling stuff. I went to a show with ICW, No Holds Barred in
Mm.
Chicago for a ring rental. Uh, just paying dues, getting into this business, going to help set up rings, and next thing you know, I'm at this deathmatch show. I had no idea what was going on around me. I hadn't seen like deathmatch wrestling other than that one clip when I was a child, and of course like Mick Foley and Terry Funk and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But, that's to me that's a little more organized. than what they're doing nowadays. So yeah, when they just started going out there and doing the stuff that they're doing now, I'm like, holy shit, you know? Uh, I was like, what the hell is this? And they did a double header. So they did a show at like 2 to 4, and then took like an hour intermission break or whatever, and then did a whole nother show right after that. And it's like, oh my God, dude. It's like I can't imagine. And then I like to clean up afterwards was just like never again. Um, never again. We had no gloves at the moment. Like I'm like, hey, anybody got gloves? And they're like, nah, man, we're just using these little rubber things right here. So we just started picking up all this stuff, and I still got tacks to this day from that show. I pulled out like 130 tacks out of my shoes, all bloody. And yeah, deathmatch wrestling is way different in person. I
Oh
can't
yeah.
even imagine doing a death match, let alone just watching one. But I'm not opposed to it. But it's definitely you definitely got to like mentally psych yourself up.
Hey.
And it's way different than just your regular average wrestling show.
Oh
So,
yeah. No,
but deathmatch
most
wrestling
definitely.
is insane. Alex Colon, he's a good one though.
Oh
That's
yeah.
one of the guys I see. He's always on like the major clips for that stuff, and like the stuff
He's coming
I see
back now too. I see he took a little bit of a break. When he was talking to me, he was mentioning that he was possibly going to be taking a little bit of a pause.
yeah.
And now it looks like he's getting back in there. I know he's going to be, I think I saw he was advertised for Wrestling Revolver. And I actually have signed ring worn kick pads of his.
Oh hell yeah, keep those, man.
Oh,
Keep
they're
those.
staying with me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah, I'm gonna be framed up centerpiece in my wrestling collection.
Yeah. I know I'm working on trying to get a nice little room of just stuff like for my own personal wrestling career and just things that I've had as a child. So I'm kind of adding on slowly. I got a couple event posters from our shows. We've had Rhino come out quite a few times to PWX and do shows. Um, Chase Stevens, the
Mm.
natural Chase Stevens, great guy. That I can't wait to have that guy back. Hopefully we bring him back soon. Just the conversations, the friendly conversations, the real conversations that we had where you can tell there's a genuine reaction. He's not just saying hi, how you doing, because he's obligated to. He's saying hi, how you doing, and then asking you about yourself. And those guys are just the best guys.
Oh,
So yeah, I can't wait to have more guys like that come out. And just to share locker rooms with people like that.
oh yeah.
I've had the privilege to share a locker room with Drago and Aerostar, and just to kind of see how they prepare themselves for matches and the way that they interact with everybody in the locker room, the fans,
Oh,
the
oh,
promoters. It's I'm a very observant person, so like I try to just I'm very shy at first, so when I get into the locker room, I'm normally shaking hands and I'll back off for a little bit. But if I have a question, I'm coming up to them. Yeah. But most of the time I really just like to observe and just kind of see how um when no one's watching, how they carry themselves,
yeah.
because that's
Oh
what
yeah.
really matters the most. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
that means more than what you do when the red light's on and you got those 10-20 minutes in the ring. So that's very important to
Oh, totally.
just constantly keep learning stuff, you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think with me in the beginning right now, I think I've kind of learned a lot so far, and it's
It,
it's a stepping stone, but hopefully, I get to share a locker room with guys like that, like Alex Colon, Mike Bennett, you know. It would just be awesome and
oh
a
yeah.
privilege, to
I
have one day a photo and frame it up, and just have it
yeah.
in here and be like, hey, I did that. So
I've actually one of the times that I met Mike Bennett. The first time, actually, I got a picture with him at ringside, and then when I met him at Warrior, I actually got an 8x10 made of it, and I brought it to him to have him sign it.
oh sweet.
So I've
Yeah,
got that.
I'm from Ottawa, Illinois. And Maria, Mike's wife, is
Hmm.
actually from Ottawa. So uh a lot of people know that I'm a wrestler or that I've been a wrestling fan and stuff. Like it's funny whenever he pops into town because everybody is blowing me up. Hey, Mike's in town, and like I've met him a couple times, but it's just funny. People are like, "Oh, well, you're a wrestler and he's a wrestler. His wife's from Ottawa, you're from Ottawa. Like you guys obviously know each other." Like,
Yeah.
not I wish I knew him like that, but you know what I mean?
Oh
Maybe one
yeah.
day. Maybe one
Oh
day.
yeah. No,
But
that
that's
would
cool,
that.
man. Yeah, Mike's a great guy.
Oh yeah, totally. Got
Great guy.
nothing but good things to say about him. That
Yeah.
is for sure. Well, I have two categories that I kind of like to round stuff off with. And first one's a little bit of a name game where I'd name off some people. You give me your thoughts on them.
Okay.
First one, kind of mentioned him a little bit, but the phenomenal one, AJ Styles.
The best in the world. Best to ever do it, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I've been lucky enough to get to meet him on one occasion. I actually have a signed uh, lockdown DVD cover. One of them that he was on.
Lockdown. That's awesome. I
He
miss the
mentioned
old
that he hated
TNA.
the lethal lock. Just that whole show. He mentioned that. I don't know if he still feels this way, but at the time he was like, "Yeah, I hated that damn show."
Ah. So, but that's a wrestler. I've come to learn real quick that a lot of wrestlers, even if they do something well and you ask them, they're their own worst critics. So they're gonna be like,
He,
nah, 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 nah. But let
yeah.
it marinate with some time and let people pick up the steam and give their opinions. Then they'll eventually be like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that was good. But yeah, AJ Styles, in my opinion, one of the best to ever do it.
Oh,
I'm jealous of my oldest brother. He's gotten to see AJ Styles wrestle in TNA. He's gotten to see him wrestle in WWE. Like every single wrestling show my oldest brothers went to, AJ Styles pretty much has been on it. So like, and I've yet to see AJ Styles wrestle like live. So he holds that over me sometimes. But AJ Styles was one of those guys when I was a kid, with Impact, with the momentum that they had back in the
yeah.
day. I just cling to right away. He was the smaller guy and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So the ultimate underdog. So but that match with him, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe,
Oh yeah.
triple threat. Yeah, a lot of wrestlers have said this themselves, but that match, and then Ricochet, Will Ospreay, Best of the Super Juniors, 2016.
Mm.
Like watching those two matches completely like opened my whole mind up to a whole new world of wrestling. So,
Oh yeah.
but those two matches were the matches that really like pushed me like I want to do this. So I
Oh yeah.
have to credit AJ Styles for that, for being one of the guys to push me to really pursue this. So AJ
Oh,
Styles, in my opinion, one of the best.
oh yeah. I actually got to see him wrestle. It was in between when I got him to sign that lockdown cover. It was in between when he left Impact and before he went to New Japan. He did a
Oh,
string
okay.
of independent dates, and I got to see him in between there. That was pretty
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So you got to see him at like the most time where he was wanted the most. Like
Oh yeah, no,
no
it
one
was
knew what was gonna happen with it. That's again too, like AJ Styles. He was the guy who brought me back into WWE. As weird as that is, it was an outsider guy who brought me back to WWE.
oh yeah.
Because yeah, my brother was just like, no, he's gonna be in the Royal Rumble, and the World Championships on the line, and Roman's defending it, and I'm like, no, dude, you're lying right now. And to really see AJ come out at 13, and I was like, I had goosebumps. It's giving me goosebumps right now. Like,
It was a special moment, that is for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Next up, a guy that is having one hell of a run with AEW right now. He's got the international championship, Orange Cassidy.
I love what he's doing. He's bringing a whole new like atmosphere and alternative to what comedy wrestling can be, and just the stuff he's doing right now with this championship reign that he's got. He's hanging in there with the best and still being himself, and that's the best part of it. He can still go out there and do his comedy stuff, and it's still he can place him in spots where it makes sense to where it
Yeah.
doesn't lessen his match or his opponent. So I think he's got it down as far as character and what a gimmick should be. He knows what he's doing in this modern day of wrestling.
Oh, for sure. And he's definitely got something special there.
Yeah.
Next up, a guy that, after we get your opinion on him, I got a funny little story of a little run-in that I had with him. Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens. So when I was younger and I was watching like on Comcast and was just scrolling through and seeing like Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas on ROH, um, Kevin Owens at the time, Kevin Steens, he was on his way out of like Ring of Honor basically. So like I kind of got to see like the welcoming appreciation and the thank you from Ring of Honor that he got. And then it was just kind of weird for me to see him like in NXT and stuff like that, just because wasn't familiar with, I didn't differentiate that El Generico was a whole nother person. So I was like, oh, well, like why are they doing all this stuff? And like, so I would be watching their matches and they're like doing like callbacks from their old matches. I'm like, why is he doing that? Is that like part of his stuff now? And then then I started really learning about wrestling and realized like, oh, that was that one guy I seen on ROH who at the time wasn't in physically looking the best. So I was like, oh, it's pretty cool to see him in WWE. And then it was when he turned finally on Sammy, smashed him down. I was hook, line, and sinker with everybody else. Like, yo, this guy is the shits.
Oh, yeah.
I like that he's kind of brought the edginess back with the whole stunner and stuff like that. It's cool to see where it like see how he can pick up like Stone Cold's, lineage and moves and stuff like that and still make it work today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that match they had at WrestleMania,
awesome.
like me being the huge Stone Cold fan I am, that whole storyline, I was loving it.
Yeah, and like I was named after Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's how I got my name. So like just growing up, always being that guy cracking, at the time it was my milk jugs. Boom, boom. But it was awesome because like when Kevin Owens won the World Universal Championship and Triple H turned on Rollins and gave it to Kevin, and like that was when I really started buying into Kevin Owens, and I'm like, man, this guy is good. But just to see Stone Cold, Kevin Owens on a WrestleMania, doing what they did, like it got the best of both worlds. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I was like, I really like the way wrestling's going right now. Like a lot of people have their own opinions, but I watch a lot of wrestling and it's just, I love everything about it right now. Like everything about it right now is exactly what everyone loved about it, if not better. And I just can't keep my eyes off of any product. Like I find myself on the Fight app watching just like smaller indie shows on there sometimes just because like, I'm waiting for AEW to come on and I got a few hours. But Kevin Owens, man, definitely one of those guys I can't really speak a whole lot about just because like I'm still kind of learning about his past history before WWE, but one of those guys who you can just tell by the way others in the business talk about him and the way that people who have worked with him talk about him. He's very respected and he's put a lot of time into this and he has every right to feel whatever way he feels. So I think he's got a good future with WWE. And I think even if something were to happen, I don't think the guy would even have to wrestle, you know, because
Yeah.
his comedy, his comedic timing is awesome, and that's one thing that's so underrated about that guy is people know he can kick ass, but it's like, man, like go back and watch some of these promos from like 2016, and it's just like the stuff him and Jericho were doing was
Mm.
great. Like I still get on YouTube and watch some of that stuff back just because it's like, I need a good laugh or something.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he's very good, and like he can touch every aspect of this business and nail it right on the head and
Oh,
make everything great.
totally. And mentioned that I had a funny little run in there with him. My family, well, some of my family and my wife and me, we went to Disney World like a like 2 years ago now. Anyways, we were getting ready to leave, and I I don't know, I dropped something. I had to bend down and get it. And as I'm getting up, I look over, corner of my eye, I see that T-Rex skull on that he has on it. And I look up,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my God.
yeah, yeah,
And then like I saw that he was with his family, so I was like, I'm gonna I know I saw him. I know I saw him.
yeah,
So then I literally run up to my wife. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
yeah. Yeah, I guess he's always at Orlando and Disney. I guess he loves that place. So, you know,
Hey,
you
no,
never
it's
know like who you're gonna run into. You'd be surprised, like
oh yeah.
even at wrestling shows. It's so crazy. I ran into my seventh grade history teacher at a Dreamwave show a couple months ago. Weird, like
Oh yeah.
how? I thought I would never see you again. And he's like, no, 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 I'm here. I'm having a beer. And it's like, oh, well, I'll have a beer with you, It was just
Yeah.
very cool. Like,
Awesome.
yeah, it's just really weird how every wrestling is really like bringing a lot of things together for like me personally and professionally, like just in life, like just a moment like that. It's just very cool. Like you never know who you're gonna see. So like just
Oh yeah.
having stories like that is just nah, man. Like these are the stories you're gonna be able to tell your grandkids and be like, nah,
Yeah.
I met that guy, and like they ain't gonna believe a damn thing you say, but
Yep.
we were there, we
Yep.
lived it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Last but not least for the little name game here, he had he's on a hot streak. I'm not as big of a fan of him as some people might be, but hey, with the hot streak he's on, who can blame him? MJF.
I kind of figured this one was coming. So me being a baby face and admiring baby faces, huge Bret Hart fan. We're Bret Hart right now. Um, I love what he's doing though. MJF is the epitome of what modern day wrestling is, in my opinion. Like how to captivate today's generation with the short term, attention span. He knows what he's doing. The guy has barely wrestled maybe 3 matches in his whole reign so far. Every time his music hits that, everybody's on their feet. They're out of their chair. Phones are out. Cameras are flickering. Um, his promos. He said it in one of his promos, and like I relate to it a lot because I'm one of those guys who is very, being very athletic and stuff. There's a thousand guys in the independents and in WWE and stuff that can do the things that I can do. Um, but what makes you different is you can get people to feel. He said in his promo, I don't have to do the flippy shit because I get these people to feel something. And I believe that, like I had said earlier, I kind of got blindsided with some of these new wrestlers and some of the way they do things. And it's like you want to be smarter than that and be able to make them feel something, and because that's what's going to bring people back. And I had the privilege to work with a guy like Nasty Nick Nolan and to pick his brain and to ask him questions and to just be able to understand what that meant and what it takes to do that. And I think MJF is the epitome, like, of what it takes to create a buzz and to keep the buzz, but also to he's very good. I accredit that match, Bryan Danielson and MJF. Like he said it, the whole world, the wrestling world thought he couldn't wrestle, like no, the dude can wrestle, but let him show you, and they gave him the time. And like that match, I haven't seen a match like that shit probably since Rollins and Randy at that one WrestleMania, the outdoor show. Like it made me feel super like, oh, like I was rooting for Bryan Danielson, but I also didn't want to see the end of MJF, because it had me torn in two in a way. So it was just like, man, to just see someone like MJF do what he's doing with the way, today's world is, everything's at the tap of a finger, like he knows how to keep people's attention. Like he don't even have to be on TV every week, but as soon as they put up a flyer, with his face on it and they say he's going to be there, that's the most watched segment of the show. So, he can fade away and do these other things, but still come back and be right where he left off. And hats off to MJF.
Oh yeah, no, and one thing that, like I said, I can't take it away from him, and I, in a way, kind of admire, is he is harkening back to the old school heel type that is like nowadays some heels, it's like outside of the matches, it's like they're one way, but then they try to get the heat in the match. This MJF, it doesn't matter, in match, promo, backstage, whatever. It's just like he doesn't give a shit. He will, in a sense that it's like, in what I mean by when it comes to getting that heel reaction, he doesn't care. Like he will say whatever he has to do to get that reaction. And I kind of admire that.
Yeah, he really lives for the heat. A few years ago, I was listening to Talk is Jericho. He had Dean Malenko on there, and Dean was kind of talking about like his father's generation of wrestling era and stuff like that. And Dean was telling stories about how, he went with his dad to one of the Coliseums in the Carolinas and was doing a show, and his dad got so much heat that they came out to their car in the parking lot on cinder blocks. I think MJF is one of those guys where he hears about those experiences previously in wrestling and really wants to embrace it. And the things he says, the things he does, the way he can invoke people, he's doing it. He's bringing back what a real heel is supposed to be.
Totally.
And it can be hard to do sometimes, but he's not afraid to push that button and to push the envelope. Like he has no fear and no repercussions for any consequences that he thinks that, nah, this is too far. Let's test it. And
that's where I was trying to get at. That is,
you need guys like that though, especially in wrestling. You do need people like that. But he's very smart about going about it. I mean, most people, if they were to do the things he was doing, they probably would have been blackballed from this business by now. You know what I mean? So, but the way he does it, he's very smart and he gets it.
Gets it. Oh, definitely.
Big NJF fan.
In that aspect, I can see where people are huge fans of his, because, like, good Lord, going back to, you haven't really seen people with that sense of, like you mentioned, since I'm wanting to say, since Dudley Boy's original ECW style stuff. the way
Yeah.
they would get those reactions out of people. You you haven't really seen something like that since then.
Yeah, those early mid late 90s promos from the Dudleys. Yeah, those were literally causing riots, you
Yeah.
know. Almost every show, you know. MJF is one of those guys that if something like that is going to happen today in the wrestling business,
He's
he'll
going
probably
to
be
be
the
the guy
guy
to
to
do it.
cause it. Yeah, he'll be
Yeah.
the guy to cause that stuff to happen. So,
Well,
um,
I can totally see it.
yeah, I my senior year, I went to one of those Dreamwave shows, and it was just I seen MJF like the moment his music hit, he came out and he was like about to start the match, and he started getting heat, talking shit. And I just knew, like, I just couldn't take my eyes off the dude. I'm like, this guy is gonna go somewhere. Like, he's literally like just captivating everybody. He had all these people wanting to throw beers on him, and he didn't even say much. He said like 4 words, and they just went crazy. And I'm like, yo, this guy's going somewhere, man.
Mhm.
And then like 3 years later, AEW's formed, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah. Now, going on to my little bit of a random question category. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be. I really don't know until I put my notes together what questions I'm going to put on here. Besides my first one, craziest in match moment for you?
Craziest in match moment. Um, I was in a tag match about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I was in a tag match that was kind of like an impromptu. Um, some people weren't able to make the show, so we had to go back to the drawing board, and I was involved in a match. Um, I took a post. I got thrown into the corner post, hit the post, and I hit my head off the ground. I've never done boxing or like kickboxing or nothing like that. I played football and wrestled and you know team sports, but I had never like had a concussion to where it starches you like in boxing when they get hit knocked
Yeah,
out.
that's kind of,
So
yeah.
yeah, I took the post and I kind of over rotated, hit my head on the ground, and I was starched out for about maybe 20 seconds. That was like a very holy shit type
Mm.
thing, and it was something so simple. Um, yeah, that was kind of like a very scary moment. As far as like a pretty like adrenaline shot moment that had happened was I went up for a springboard lion salt against Chris the Wildcard Mercer, and not expecting it at all, he popped up off the mat and blindsided me out of midair while I was upside down with a super kick. And
Ooh.
yeah, yeah, he caught me pretty good. I still am kind
Oh,
of getting rid
yeah.
of some, yeah, so that was something. Kind of one
I
of
can,
those things where like you knew just by the sound of the crowd, oh, like it
yeah.
was we did something there. And then just recently, the last match that I just had, I wrestled JB Mack. He's one of the newest roster members at PWX. And yeah, we were just trading shots and we were not laying anything back. We were just boom, like really just going because you know, we work out outside of wrestling and we do a lot of stuff. He's a good personal friend of mine. So we trusted each other and he wanted to make a good impression. It was one of his first few matches. So we went out there and we really just laid it all out. You know, I had handprints everywhere, you know, scuff marks, you know, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's you don't realize what you're doing until it's all said and done, you know. It's kind of hard sometimes. I come home and I'm just like, okay, it's midnight. Why can't I lay down right now? You know? Oh, the adrenaline's still going. I just had to
Mm.
think back. I just went crazy for 20, 30 minutes. So moments
Oh, yeah.
like those are pretty cool. Moments like
I
those.
can imagine.
Yeah.
This next question, I would feel weird not having it on because with a name of a show like Drinking at Moe's, I figured I had to have this one on here. Favorite
Okay.
drink, whether alcoholic, non, or one of each.
Hmm. Um, Definitely a banana smoothie guy.
Okay.
Something something about smoothies. I love fruit. I'll drink a smoothie 24/7, if I have access to it. Um, One thing is Bang Energies. I'm not a big energy drink guy. My stepdad drank a lot of them, kind of had a lot of, physical things going on and stuff like that. And I was just kind of always like shied away from them, growing up and stuff like that. But as I'm like, hitting the gym and need a little pick me up and stuff sometimes, like Bang Energies. Like I can't stop drinking those. And Liquid Death is good. Um oh, Liquid IV is another good one.
Hmm.
I drink so much of that stuff. Like it's great for hangovers. If someone's, you out having an alcoholic beverage and you're like, I'm getting a hangover, drink like 2 Liquid IVs and some water, eat something real light, and you'll be good to go.
Hmm.
And
All right.
milk,
Oh,
you know.
no.
I'm a big milk guy, chocolate
Okay.
milk especially.
Oh, I do enjoy chocolate milk. I haven't had any in a while, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah, chocolate milk. It's got to be that True Moo though.
Oh, that is some good stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
some good stuff.
yeah.
Next up, I like to oftentimes ask people about stuff outside of wrestling. What would you say is a favorite activity, favorite hobby outside of wrestling?
Outside of wrestling, favorite hobby and favorite activity. I do like to just kind of like spend a lot of time with family lately.
Oh,
Now that I'm kind of outside of like the whole socializing and friends and starting to mature more, I do really enjoy spending time with family, um, as much as we can. Uh, with like the schedule of wrestling and stuff, like
yeah.
I can't always be there sometimes and stuff like that. But overall, I just really like to just spend time with my family, especially because a lot of them now are kind of getting up there and
Yeah.
just cookouts. I love food, you know. I'll sit and eat all day if I have access to whatever, but I can't gain a pound. Like it's so hard. I don't know if it's like my metabolism. I've been trying to switch up the things I eat lately. Um, but yeah, food, cookouts. Outside of that though, definitely skateboarding was something that I was into as a kid that I'm like, I'll see it and I'm like, man, I just kind of want to I'm having that urge to just do it, to just go buy a skateboard and just push around town for a little bit and just because it's good cardio too. So,
I
and
can
I
see
just see
that.
a lot of like my old buddies that used to skate and stuff, and some of them got kids now, and it's cool just to see like they're teaching their kids how to skate, and it's like pretty crazy, to think like, oh, me and this kid wouldn't have even hung out if we didn't have a skateboard, you know? Uh, so yeah, like as I'm getting older, I'm just starting to realize, like people can get busy, things can, you know what I mean, can get very hectic very fast. I try to stay as much as a kid as possible. So any activity that can really like keep me physically active or keep me like engaged is something that I'm into. I'm used to play video games. I'm not into video games anymore. Like that's completely dead to me. Like if I'm on a game, it's literally one video game and I won't play that if I don't even have people to play with. So it's like I'm barely on that anymore. So yeah, just really hanging out with my family, especially with a lot of things personally going on between all of us. So like just being able to spend as much quality time with friends, family, eat as much food as possible, maybe have a beer or two, and just kind of just enjoy each other's company. I really like talking to people, so it's cool to just get other people's opinions and stuff like that, just on everything.
Oh, I can relate. Last but not least, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Anyone who's wanting to get into professional wrestling, me personally, the best advice I would say is understand your why. Why do you want to do it? And you need to understand why the business is the way it is if you want to get into it. Um, it's so easy to be like, oh, they did this on TV. I'm gonna go do that, you know. Um, I've kind of had the privilege and the ability to kind of help train some new people that come into PWX. And it's been a great experience so far, but you can start to see sometimes like people haven't even thought about like the lifestyle of what wrestling entails. They just see a show and they think, oh, for that 10-20 minutes they're out there, that's all the preparation that goes into it. But you really need to understand if this is something you want to do, it's it's an ongoing thing. You can't just do it for a few months and then wipe your hands with it. It's an ongoing thing. It's a lifestyle, and that's something I'm even learning myself a little bit. You know, I'm aware of that, but now that I'm involved, you these are the extra steps you have to take, and it involves sacrificing a lot of stuff. So if you have a girlfriend or a friend or a family who's expecting this from you, but you want to go about things this route, you better figure out what's more important real quick. So I've had a lot of people like, yeah, I'm gonna come in and do that, and then they get in there and they don't even understand why they're going to be doing what they're doing. And so you want to develop your why, and that can happen with many things. I mean, life can teach you what your why is. That's how I had to
Yeah.
learn. I had to grow up pretty fast. Um, you know, just really think about stuff and think about what you can contribute to the business, what your role can be, and you want to go somewhere where if you're going to learn, you want to learn from the best. You want
Yeah.
to go somewhere that's credible. And it can be hard. It can be hard depending on where you're at. Like for me, in the beginning, it was very hard. I live about 90 miles south of Chicago. So, and I didn't have a car at the time. Like, and when I did, it wasn't the most reliable. And so like you gotta really balance these things out. And it only has to make sense to the individual, right? Like it, my mom doesn't even understand most of the stuff that I'm like doing, like most of my family and stuff. Yeah, I've gotten heat for a lot of the things that I do, but then they see the payoff with the moments and the shows, and they see the hard work, and then they really see, like, oh, he's really putting a lot of effort into this. And then it starts to make sense to people, but
Yeah.
it at any point it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else but that individual, you
Yeah.
know?
No, totally.
Those two things, you want to understand your why, and you want to be able to understand that you have to do what you need to do. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone. That includes your brother, mother, mom, father, whatever. Like, and I always say this too, the truth isn't sweet. So when someone tells you the truth, be ready to swallow it, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like my parents weren't really fond of me doing this. And I kind of knew that they would rather me go the conservative route. But now that everything's paying off and kind of, you know, going the way it is, they get it. And that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. It doesn't have to make sense to everybody. But be safe,
Mm.
go somewhere that's credible, understand and develop your why on why you want to do this, and definitely look out for each other. Like
Yeah.
I've met a couple of, females in locker rooms and stuff like that. And you can see very quick when they come into a locker room and, oh, it might be the first time there or whatever. And it's just like, these are our sisters. You treat them the same way as you would your own sister at home. And it's the same thing. Respect, the power of respect is never to disrespect. And I think that goes a long way. So to be able to understand your why, have a good level head, and go to somewhere that's credible, that's probably the best thing you can do. And if you do those three things and show respect, the opportunities are endless. You just really got to make your route, though.
Yeah.
Not everyone's journey is going to be the same. I've kind of had a couple conversations with some people like, oh, well, this person's doing this, and I've been here. It's like, well, you know, things take time, and it's not going to make sense to everybody, but when it does make sense, it'll click. And as
Yeah.
long as you take that and adapt from it, this business will offer endless opportunities to whoever, as long
Yeah.
as you do it right. And I was worried there for a moment myself, like, maybe I'm not doing it right. Like maybe I'm taking the wrong route. Maybe I'm just like, I need to go somewhere credible. And, lately all the feedback and again, the openness, the welcoming atmospheres, like it really throws you off when you come into a
Yeah.
world like this where it's, all macho and testosterone and, gimmicks and ego. But just be respectful, be friendly, be responsible, stuff like that. Coming into the wrestling business, very new, it can shake someone to their core and it can terrify them. But if you can again embrace it and learn and adapt from it, even if it's not something you want to do long term, I always suggest to people going just for the experience, like because physically it's a whole nother outlet than just like going to your average gym. So
Yeah.
it's like, and it's cool. It's like, not often do people get the opportunity to try someone else's profession, you know? And it's like, if you have that chance to do it, do it. And if it
Yeah.
works for you, be persistent,
Oh,
I
yeah.
my oldest brother in Texas was the guy who kind of instilled that to me. I kind of went through these confidence things going on, trying to get back into wrestling, and he took a gamble on himself. He left Illinois, went and did his stuff, and he fixed his credit, and he's doing all this stuff. And it's like, hey, if you did it coming from the same household as me, it's a different route, different avenue and stuff, but hey, it's possible. And I think this business really shows people that the opportunities are endless if you really
Oh,
apply yourself. So
totally.
anyone who wants to do anything, just apply yourself, especially with
Totally.
wrestling. Respect the veterans, man. Don't disrespect a veteran.
Hmm.
That's
Definitely.
that's the biggest thing.
Totally. Well, before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
So yeah, I'm on Facebook at Austin Michael Baldridge. Um, I also have a public page that you can like as AMB Professional Wrestling. I'm on Instagram at X_AMB98_X. Um, and YouTube as well at AMB Pro Wrestling. Kind of getting into Twitter. It's kind of confusing though. Yeah, as weird as it is, this is supposed to be my forte, my generation thing, but I don't understand Twitter. I do have one, but I'm really just on Instagram,
It's
Facebook, and yeah, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I will be. I just found out today. I will be at Gali Lucha Libre on June 10th. I will be posting a flyer for that show. This Sunday coming up, I will be doing Wrestling Roulette with PWX, Pro Wrestling Extreme, out of Streator, Illinois. I will be defending the PWX United States Championship against JT Simmons, who, for the people that are aware, last time I shared the ring with him, he blindsided me from behind with my own championship and proceeded to tell me, remember who left your ass laying here. Um, Believe me, I did not forget JT. So I will see you this Sunday at PWX Wrestling Roulette in Streator, Illinois. And then also Tomorrow, my family, we lost someone over Christmas, a baby cousin of mine. So tomorrow I am doing a fundraiser match to try and help raise money for the family, for my cousin, to try and help with the expenses for that. So yeah, PWX. You can catch me in PWX in Streeter, Illinois, or on social media. I'm starting to make my rounds up in the Wisconsin area. I will be going to Janesville Wrestling Association again next month. I will be posting flyers for that as well. Honor Among Wrestling out of Iowa. I will be wrestling for them soon, making my debut against the great Greek Theseus and the all natural Njpw. Natural Njpw. Kind of messed that up there. Still learning his stuff. I've been watching his tapes. He's a big guy,
Yeah.
very big guy. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, but the stuff that I have seen so far, he's explosive for a guy his size, to be honest. And it's kind of making me a little nervous because he's gonna pick me out the air. He's a big guy. He's just gonna grab me, and I got him outmaneuver him as well as Theseus. Theseus, I've shared the ring with him quite a bit. Uh, he's very savvy. The great Greek god Theseus. He's very savvy. Gotta watch my back with those two coming up for Honor Among Wrestling.
All right. Well, we will have all the information, social media stuff in the description of both the YouTube and podcast versions of this episode. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight, and best of luck with the upcoming shows.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on. Hopefully I come on again soon.
Oh,
It's been
definitely.
a pleasure. Just meeting you and talking wrestling and talking life. Hopefully we get to have more chats like this very soon.
Oh, definitely. Welcome back anytime.